everyone, thanks for joining and welcome to the lightning talk on why you need a strong personal brand and how you build one. Well, in case you're wondering, why are we talking about brand? Like, isn't that stuff for marketing folks? You are not alone. Most of the techies, including me, when they think of the brand, they think about the company logo, the marketing presentation to the customers, or maybe the brand commercials you see play on TV. Well, for you and I, and more for your career, the most important brand is your personal brand. You are the most important product out there, and you owe it to yourself to create and market your own brand. And what's a brand? It's something that's special about you, something that makes you stand out. It is the behaviors, attributes, and expertise that you're great at. And more importantly, it is how others perceive what makes you stand out. So, about 7, 8 years back, I decided it was time for me to give back to our community of women techies and women leaders. I was more than a decade into my career by then. I was an entrepreneur with a successful exit in a VP role. So I had enough battle scars really from my adventures that I could share with our community. And so I started mentoring for women leaders all across the globe, all the way from US to the Spain. And so by now, I have had the fortune of mentoring more than 100 women leaders. I'm currently at Square, and in Square, we are a very human centered company that invests in our people and our women. And so one of my mentees was this awesome mobile developer. I'm just going to call her Susan today. And so Susan was a senior software engineer, a developer who was a great in the mobile domain. And Susan was looking to become a technical leader. She was part of a company about 3,000 people in size. And so that's a company that's large enough that not many people knew her personally, but small enough that word traveled and her brand mattered. Now, Susan wanted to move internally, into a different role. And so when she entered sort of the internal job market, she realized that most of the teams, most of the hiring managers had not heard about her accomplishments and at work, and in a sense, what was special about her. And more importantly, she did not have the language to describe what made her stand out. And so in one of my mentoring sessions, she explained her situation, and I yelled, it's like, Susan, we need to work on your brand. And so you may be thinking, what exactly does a brand mean? Well, let's start with some examples. So have you heard of Indra Nui? In case you haven't, Indra Nui is an Indian-born American businesswoman and formerly CEO of the huge company PepsiCo, Pepsi the drink. And so her brand is that she is great at expansion strategy. She transformed PepsiCo into a well-balanced consumer products company that was less reliant on sales of its flagship soft drinks. So her brand is expansion strategy and transformation. Now her title and role is CEO, but her brand is someone who is great at expansion. See that the two are different. Now let's look at another example. So Mary Barra. So Mary Barra is an American-born businesswoman and was the CEO of General Motors. She is the first female CEO of the big three automakers. She joined GM at a time when the company was struggling. Like literally they had 50 plus safety recalls in the year that she joined. And so the problem was so big that she was called in front of the Senate to justify the recalls. Now, today, 9 years later, GM is a thriving company. They've launched electric vehicles, they're leading in driverless technologies. And so Mary Barra's brand is someone who can turn around a sinking ship. Again, her role is a CEO, but her brand is very different or what makes her special in her role. And so here in this room, we are not CEOs of companies. Now, one day, I hope you or many of you will be. But for now, we are techies. And so, what does brand mean to us as techies? If you are a developer, a first time manager, or any leader for that matter, what can your brand be? Your brand could very well be something like Maribara had, which is someone who can turn around a sinking ship. Of course, yours will be with technical innovations. Your brand can be a particular technology that you're expert at. As an example, in Susan's case, she was great at mobile architecture and design. She knew the design patterns and she knew when to use what patterns very well. So you could be a cloud expert, a database design expert, if that makes you stand out. That is your brand. Your brand could also be the behaviors you exhibit. Like you could be the person who just gets the job done. Like, no matter how complex the work is, no matter what hurdles you face, you are the person that your management can rely on to get stuff done. You are the GST person. You could be a creative, out of the box thinker. Maybe you're the person who always comes up with novel solutions. You have a very creative approach. You can find good open source libraries, make it easy on the rest of the team, and you're the creative out of the box types. Your brand could be that you are a people person, and that's so important today. You could be a collaborator, a team player. You could be the person that's a pleasure to work with. And maybe you're the person who makes others just crack up, right? People love such people having them on the team. And so you get the point, right? There are just so many different ways in which you stand out, and that is your brand. So now imagine you're like, I want to have a good brand. I realize it's important for my career. But Sonali, how do I go about it? So here's a framework that I share with Susan, and one that I've used for a lot of critical transformations, actually both on a personal front as well as the professional front. Is the framework I call awareness, acknowledgement, and action. Awareness meaning you know that there's something called a personal brand. You know what brand you have out there today. Acknowledgement meaning you admit that this is an area for betterment for you. And action meaning you just work on it. You're willing to work hard for it, you put in the effort, and then you're going to see the results. So, with this three simple step framework, awareness, acknowledgement, and action, you can bring about a brand change. Trust me, I've seen it be done. And so now that you know exactly about creating a brand change, what it means, the first step for you to get started is awareness. And so it's about knowing what's your brand. And how do you know what your brand is? Well, you ask. You ask the people that work with you, the people whose opinion you value. You ask them about what they believe makes you stand out and what's unique about you. You could do this in a face to face conversation over coffee, or you could actually also do this in an anonymous survey using something like SurveyMonkey. And the interesting part when you make it anonymous is that you will actually hear candid feedback, candid opinions about you out there. And so that gives you a baseline of where you stand today and what your brand is. And so now that you are aware of what your brand is, then you do some soul searching. You think about what you want your brand to be, what you want your brand to be 6 months from now, a year from now, maybe 2 years from now. And so then you think about what's the next step in your career, and you look at what are the brand that people carry for the next step in your career. It could be you wanted to be a technical leader, a manager, a director, whatever it is. You look at what brand people carry and you look at what do you want to be identified as. So in Susan's case, she wanted to strengthen her brand of being a mobile subject matter expert. And so we worked on things that she could do, like, engaging in speaking engagements in her company or outside. She aimed to speak at conferences. She could write blogs. She could use Twitter, her social media feed, to kind of establish a subject matter expertise. She could mentor other junior developers out there to gain sort of the people consensus of her having this strong brand. And so word does follow, and she did get the brand that she wanted for herself. And so good brand goes a long, long way. Like 12 years back, literally, I worked on search infrastructure and spoke at conferences on Elasticsearch and Solar. I had some US patents in my name at that time. And last week, I had someone I connected with from that time in my career, and the person still remembers it. So in his head, I am the search expert. That was my brand. Now, again, another example. A few years back, I helped two mid-sized companies scale their engineering operations. One company was a media company, a Netflix-like company, and another one was a realty business. Both very different products. But the brand I created for myself after I did those transformations is that I am a scaling person. So, a good brand goes a long, long way. It can get you the job that you're looking for. It can get you a call from the job that you're looking for from the person that you work with, maybe a very long time back. It can help you with your intercompany transfers. It can help you with your word of mouth publicity. It can help you get a promotion. And not just that, it can actually also help you make friends. After all, birds of a feather flock together. So, friends, in a sense, your brand is what makes you stand out. And more importantly, how others perceive what makes you stand out. Using the framework of awareness, acknowledgement, and action, Susan was able to get her brand and actually to able to transform her brand into something that she wanted it to be. And so can you. And most importantly, you owe it to yourself to invest in you and build a strong product. You owe it to yourself to market the most important product there is out there, which is you. I hope you found this valuable. I hope you start on your brand building journey today. And thanks for listening.